To get started, what inspired you to start powerlifting?
Um, so I did CrossFit for a while. I've always, I guess you could use the word always, for a long time. I've been very, very into the gym. I remember thinking when I was younger that, I'd see like personal trainers and I would think that they had like the dream job. They get to be in a gym all day. Like I just was obsessed with the gym. Um, Honestly, there was a period of my life where I was more so a cardio bunny, which is very weird to look back on now. Um, but I didn't like. I lifted sort of. I did more of like a hybrid like style of training. So I was interested in CrossFit. Well, when I studied abroad my junior year of college, I joined a CrossFit gym. I studied abroad in South Africa, so I joined a CrossFit gym there, and I loved it. Came back to the U.S., continued CrossFit, like quit my D1 sport at Carolina, like literally like went all in. While I was in South Africa, people were telling me like you should try powerlifting, and I was like, hmm, I mean, I don't know, like I don't know that I want to just confine myself to just lifting. Um, and they were like, I don't know, like you're pretty, like I think you'd be good at it, like you're pretty strong for like the average person. And I was like, I mean, I guess, like I work really hard, like I know that, like I try really hard. But anyways, so while I was in South Africa, I have a friend. He's him and I are still friends. Um, he was a power lifter. He doesn't really do it anymore. But I was like, like if I got his help, people are saying I'd be good at it. I like being good at things. Maybe I'll just try it. I do like lifting. Like I really enjoy lifting. So give it a go. Like I don't have to stop CrossFit. I could just do powerlifting too. And so I just like signed up for my first powerlifting meet when I was in South Africa. I was in a coffee shop and I just hit register and I was like, I didn't even know how to bench yet. I was like, let's just try. I knew how to squat and deadlift. But anyways, yeah. So that's kind of what got me started. Is like technically powerlifting and like having a friend in it, and people telling me that they thought I would be good at it. And I'm very competitive. So I'm like, well, if this is something I could be good at and I like it, I might as well at least try it. So
That's awesome. I did a little reading about you, and I saw that you were a Division One rower at U.
yeah, I was a coxswain on the rowing
Oh,
team.
okay.
Too short to be a rower,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
So, like, do you think having that athletic background helped you pick up powerlifting a little quicker?
um, yeah, I mean, so and for people who don't know, like uh, being technically like being a coxswain is not an athletic thing. Like you
Oh,
sit
okay.
in the front of the boat and you steer it and make calls and stuff. However, that did not suit. I'm not gonna lie. I love my teammates. If any of them ever, if this reaches any of them, I did not like it. It was not stimulating enough for me. I begged them to let me row, and they were like, simply like, you're like one of the most athletic on the team, but you're just not tall enough. Like, you just can't do it. But before rowing, like that was like a 2 year stint, if that. I was very competitive in lacrosse. Like I wanted to play in college. I've played sports my whole life, so that's where I would more so give my athletic and like competitive background is like before rowing. But I was technically on the rowing team.
Okay. So I saw you competed at the North American Regional Championship in 2025.
Yep, last year.
Okay. Just like, can you talk a little bit about that experience, just like competing internationally? And I saw you did win the Pan American Championship. That's awesome.
Hmm. Thank
So,
you.
just if you could talk us through like a little bit like what that experience like felt like just competing internationally.
It was like the first word that popped in my mind was like it was very nerve-wracking in the beginning just because like there's this um idea that international competition is even more strict than in the US. I mean, I think I was too timid when I started off on squats. I had an okay squat day. I didn't do anything magical. I did not PR my squat that meet. Um, yeah, and also like my squats felt a little wonky in prep, so I wasn't super confident in them either. Um, So I was pretty timid, actually. My this is I'll say it. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's funny now to think back on it. My last taper squat day, I tried new knee sleeve, like not new sleeve. They were SPD, but like I put fresh knee sleeve. Didn't try to stretch them out. Nothing. Like just slipped them on. And I went for literally, it was just a 125 kilo stick, 275, right? Like that's far less than my opener. Like no issue. I had a 3x1, I think, at 275 for my taper. And everything felt horrible. I was going through a really rough water cut. It's one of the hardest cuts of my life. And I came up from like the squat and like one of my feet like stepped forward because I felt like I couldn't feel my legs at all, and I completely spiraled. Like I have OCD, so like I completely spiraled. Like I was like nonverbal for 2 hours. I'm like, that has never happened to me before. So clearly, I mean, all of that to say, I was very nervous. Like I just very nervous for my first international competition. Also very excited, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to not just win, but win by a very large margin. I was like, I can't just win. Like I have to win by a lot. Like I put all this pressure on myself. Um, but yeah, so but on the day it was really fun. I like, now like one of my best friends ever, Jackie Malater, she was there and watched me in person. And at the time we were friends and really good friends, but now we're like best friends. We talk on phone like every day. And so it was cool to have her there. Yeah, it was really fun. I had the best bench day of my life, so that was cool because bench felt kind of bad during prep too. So PR'd my bench at that meet. But yeah, it was fun. I think I the result that I got. Funny enough, though, I was like, I woke up the next morning like sick to my stomach because I just still felt like I wasn't good enough. But I tell myself like, A, be nicer to yourself, but also B, that feeling is probably why you'll keep improving. So like I remember, like everyone knows who Austin Perkins is. Him and I have been friends for many years. I texted him the next morning and I was like, "Do you ever wake up the morning after a meet and like feel sick to your stomach with like how much better you want it to be?" And I loved his response. He was like, "I used to do that all the time." He's like, "I don't really anymore." And I can't remember his reasoning for that, but it kind of gave me hope of like, okay, like, I'm still like younger in the sport than he is, and I feel that feeling now, but it's not abnormal that I feel it, and like, maybe at some point I won't. Maybe at some point I'll be proud of myself. So, yeah.
And you've been open about like dealing with injuries going into competitions. I was just wondering like how you deal with that mentally, just dealing with setbacks going into competitions, and just do you change your prep at all? Like do you like adjust like when you're training, do you adjust your volume, intensity, anything going into your prep for a competition?
Um, yeah, so I would say in prep for SPD Austin last year, I was going through a pretty severe SI injury. It only lasted for 8 weeks, but it was bad. I mean, it was probably it was the most mentally challenging thing I've ever gone through in powerlifting. I've never been injured like that before. I had thoracic outlet syndrome like 3 or 4 years ago, and that sucked. And it even lasted longer, but it wasn't as mentally challenging. Like it only affected bench. It affected squat a little bit too with like the rotation, but um, it was something was different about this time. I felt like I had finally like made it, or not really, but like I was starting to make it in the sport, and like I got invited to this meet, which at the time was the strongest roster on U.S. soil, and I was like, why me? Like that was the biggest question. Like why did I get injured 8 weeks out? Like it felt very unfair to me. Um, Shortly before that injury, I became SBD. So, like, it felt like I had gotten so much of what I wanted, and like now it's being taken away because I had the injury. So it was really difficult to deal with mentally. I felt like, do I deserve anything that I'm getting right now? Do I deserve any recognition? Like, I felt like, I wanted to be an athlete, but I didn't feel like one because, my back hurt so bad. But anyways, I will say that I had a really amazing group of people around me, and like that's how like the powerlifting community is incredible. And I was very, very supported. I mean, like name a name, and they helped me. Like, um, you know, people just in my immediate circle, like my friends and stuff. Um, and then also like coaches that I've known for a long time. Brad Coolyard, him and I talked on the phone for like an hour. Um, Perk, we called and he gave me like the rundown of how to like treat it because he's like I've dealt with stuff like this before. He's the one that put me on the Aleve cream, which apparently a lot of people don't know about. Aleve makes a cream. I have some in my room, and he swears by it. It's the Aleve cream, and there's also another thing like I can't remember, but it's like lesser known, but it's really good. Anyways, so I just had people around me believing in me, and I didn't want to drop out, and I was told you can do it, like rally, you can do it. And about 6 days out, my back wasn't like really hurting anymore, and I was like, ooh, maybe I can still do it. And I don't know, I hadn't even deadlifted in like a month. I had squatted heavy recently, but my back gave out during the squat, so I was like very wary of squats. Um, but it just goes to show you that like maybe a lot of rest sometimes when you're really fatigued is good. But anyways, yeah, so it was extremely mentally challenging. My OCD was absolutely horrible. Like I couldn't really manage my emotions very well. I was sad all the time. I had no energy. Um, but I got through it. I'm not injured now. My right knee hurts a little bit, but other than that. And I've also learned how to be proactive in things. Like, for example, my right knee. I've already reached out to my PT friend. She's already given me some ideas on PT exercises. I'm going to do them, during training. So it's like you learn so much from being injured, So
Yeah, and props to you for pushing through that. Like I couldn't imagine. Like I don't know, like it was I think it was for me, if I was in your situation, that would be so tough just dealing through injuries, just going through a competition. And I think the thing I love about powerlifting the most, like I can't speak to competing on an international level, but I've done local meets and I love
Mhm.
just like the community aspect where
Yeah,
everyone's kind of like rooting for each
it's
other.
at every level. The
Yeah.
community aspect is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what I love about it. So, I guess if you could give yourself any advice, or if you could give any advice to yourself before going into a competition like that, what would you tell yourself?
Like a competition where I'm injured or a
Yeah,
comp.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, it's a good question. Um, I would say so. In that prep, I learned that first of all, like I said before, my OCD was really bad, and so for people who don't, know entirely how OCD could be impacting, an athlete with an injury, um, with OCD, there's a lot of like checking behaviors. So I could not stop checking to see if something would hurt. Like I did it all day long. I did my PT exercises religiously, like to the point where it would stress me out. Um, and it's like, I mean, I did have some of my physical compulsions come back, which through therapy, I've gotten a lot of my physical compulsions. I don't do them anymore. Um, and it doesn't stress me out to not do them, but it kind of came back. Like I had a lot of physical compulsions during that time period. And I would say like advice that I would give myself is like, like having hope speaks volumes. Like I only got through that prep because I had hope that I would get better and that I would be okay. I didn't drop out simply because I didn't want to. Like that was the reason. It didn't go deeper than that. I didn't want to drop out, so I didn't. And the only way to get through that prep was to like have hope that maybe I would get better. Um, Also recognizing that like that the advice would be to not think of getting better or working to not be injured or working to heal my back, to not think of it as a result of my OCD making me do all of these things. It's like I did the PT exercises, I did the I modified lifts, I did all these things because of like my drive and like the hope that I had that I would get better. Like it wasn't OCD driving me, it was me driving me. And so my advice would be to like just channel that. Like don't think of it as like OCD is like making me do these PT. No, like I'm doing it myself. I'm reaching out to professionals. I'm getting help. I'm going to see doctors. So I think that if that were to happen again, knock on wood, it would give me a little bit more peace than I had last time. I would be less stressed.
Yeah, so if you could give any advice to like a younger lifter that maybe wants to start powerlifting but doesn't really know where to get started, like what would you tell them?
um, the first thing that pops in my mind is that like there's no such thing as like strong enough. That feeling, if you really do want to be good at it, it never goes away. I don't think I'm strong enough. Like, and I've been doing this for years, and you know, maybe by numbers or by accolades, people would say yes, you are, but I do not think that about myself. And I think a lot of higher level lifters think that because if you talk to we'll keep it like any other high like high level female athletes, uh, none of us like I'll text them and I'll be like, do you ever have sessions where you just think that you're like it's so not good at this sport? And they're like, oh yeah, like all the time. And it's just, it's a feeling that you have to kind of control. Like you can't let it take over your training. Like I can't sit here and think that I'm weak. Like that's not good either, right? Um, but if you don't think you're strong enough to start powerlifting, that's not like you'll learn. Like it's not really a thing. Like you're never gonna feel strong enough. As long as you love it and as long as it makes you happy, you should do it. If there's a period where it doesn't make you happy anymore, you should take a break. I've never taken a break from powerlifting, and I don't want to. But I always tell people who want to that if that's what you need to do, then that's what you should do. There's no point in powerlifting if you don't like doing it. It is a very grueling sport and it's very tiring. But yeah, so that's what I would say is like the biggest thing I hear from newer lifters is I just don't think I'm strong enough to compete. But there's really no such thing because there are so many components to what strength is, especially female powerlifters. Like if you are a female with a barbell on your back, you're strong in my mind. Like we've come a very long way. Most women were just told to do cardio, or like not lift weights or not get big or whatever. So, if you're in the weight room in general, like that's a huge win in of itself.
Yeah, and I think just kind of talking about that, I think people get caught up too much in like strength standards or whatever, things
Yeah.
like that. I think like I can speak for myself. Like I didn't, my first powerlifting meet was 2 years ago. I was not strong by any means or like any standards, but I just loved doing it and just
Yeah.
having the community around you is just so awesome. Like the first meet you do, it is the most fun. It's the most fun experience you'll probably ever have. Like it is, at least for me, like it was a really
Oh
awesome
yeah.
experience. I guess just I think everyone in the gym squat, benches, and deadlifts in some capacity. So I was just wondering, like, do you think we could ever see powerlifting on ESPN or anything like that? Because I think the lifts themselves, like they're known across the gym community, but like powerlifting itself as a sport just is a little bit of more of a, I guess, a niche community, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, do you think we could ever see powerlifting be a little more mainstream?
Um, I mean, short answer, yeah. I really don't know. I feel less aware of like where powerlifting is in like the mainstream. I mean, I know, with these like high level meets and the way that international competition is being like more so like pushed, like bench worlds, IPF worlds, North Americans, Sheffield, like all of these things are like being put out there more, and then people who are related to or friends with powerlifters, like my family never would have watched powerlifting if I didn't powerlift. I have people, so I'm a case manager in DC. I work with the homeless population. My The people in my office are like you better send us the link. They would never have watched powerlifting if I didn't do it. The person I'm dating, they like go to the gym, but they don't know about powerlifting. And so of course they're like, I'm going to watch the whole thing. And so it's like putting, people onto it, if you will, is really valuable. And they can kind of understand it more. I mean, but, to kind of answer your question about the ESPN thing, maybe I think we've had moments of it. Like, this is always a fun story, and her and I are still friends. So, Marina Maxwell, I used to coach her, and she just won Junior Worlds again. I coached her back in 2020, 2022, maybe 22. Um, and I still love her to death. Like, we're still friends. And At the meet, I was her coach. I handled her at the meet. It Carolina Prime Time, the second one. Um, she said, Coach, if I make my third deadlift, and I said, when? And she's like, okay, fine, when? When I make my third deadlift, I'm going to do a backflip on the platform. And she did it, and it got reposted on ESPN's Instagram. So that being said, it's already gotten some airtime on ESPN. In terms of like being aired, maybe I think something like Sheffield, like the biggest possible competition, like all of the world champions competing against each other. I could see, of course, that coming first, in terms of being televised. But yeah, it's hard to tell where it'll go, but I think it's definitely possible.
And then do you think like from an outside perspective, do you think there's any like common misconceptions about powerlifting that you see like still kind of talked about?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, just the other day, and I'll put my coffee down the show. So whenever I say I'm a powerlifter, they're like, so like powerlifter. I'm like, no, bodybuilding. I don't do that. Um, there was a period of time where I thought maybe I would try it, and then I like thought of not like low bar squatting, and I was like, ugh, I don't. Never mind. I love powerlifting way too much to like stop doing it. Um, or people will be like, powerlifting? I'm like, no, that's Olympic weightlifting. They do like the movement, like their arms start going, and I'm like, nope, like you're hitting every other thing besides what I do, which is funny because like, and that just goes to show you like, Olympic weightlifting is in the Olympics, so people watch it and see it. Bodybuilding is like very obvious, like people see really big people, and so they think like, okay, that's a sport too. Um, Powerlifting, like you might not know, like if I go out in like a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt, you probably wouldn't know. I mean, I'd probably look athletic, but like you wouldn't know that I lift. So it's just a lot less visible. But yeah, I would say thinking that, and also like powerlifting is a very technical sport, and a lot of people don't really understand the technicality. Like I've gotten questions like, so do you have a number that you have to hit when you get to the meet? And I'm like, no, you can pick your own. And they're like, oh, okay. So does like everyone lift the same weight and you just see who can do it? And I'm like, nope. Then I realized I'm like, dang, it is, I guess, kind of complicated. I'm like, you go in, you pick your, oops, sorry. You go in, you pick your own weight, and then, oops, you go in, you pick your own weight, and then you have 3 attempts. And the first one you should always be able to do. And then the second one's a little heavier. And then the third, it kind of depends on the competition. If you're on an international competition trying to win a medal, you probably want to play it a little more safe, unless you have like someone right there. It's like there's all this like strategy to it. And people, they're like, wait, so you pick on the day? You tell them on the day? And I'm like, yeah, like you weigh in and you tell them what weight it is. And I was like, I usually don't know what my opener is until like a couple days out. And I was having this conversation with the person I was dating actually really recently. And she was like, so like how do you train for if you don't even know what you're hitting until 2 days out? How do you train for that? And I was like, well, you pick that number based on your training. Like it kind of goes the other way around. And so I love the questions I get with powerlifting. I've had someone like stand there and basically grill me for like 10 minutes, like trying to understand, which is pretty cool. Like, I always love when I get questions just because, I want more people to know about it. It's such a cool sport. It's changed my life. So
Yeah, I was talking to my friend the other day who doesn't go to the gym, and I was telling him about powerlifting, and he was like, "Hey, is that the sport where you pick up those like stones and stuff?" And I was like, "No, that's
oh, nice.
strongman."
They thought
Yeah,
strongman. Wow.
yeah,
Okay. I don't typically get that one.
yeah. I guess I don't know if there was a lift that you could add to the big three, if anything, like squat, bench, deadlift. Like, would you add like the overhead press to powerlifting, or like no, you don't think so? Okay,
No, I mean, not for me at least. I
not
don't think I'm great at it. I like it, sort of. Like I've had it programmed, previously. So I used to do super total, like powerlifting and weightlifting. I had never done a super total meet. I've never done that before, and it'll at this point probably never happen. I'm like never leaving powerlifting. I just know that I'm not gonna put my time in anything else. But uh, I really liked the clean and jerk. I really liked that. Snatching was okay. I think when I hit like a really good one, it was exciting. But clean and jerk was more fun to me. So maybe like a nice little like clean. Like cleans are kind of fun. What I don't know what else. Um, maybe like yeah, that. I think that's the main thing that I can think of.
And then I just wanted to ask you just across like competitors, like a lot of I've seen a lot online. There's people that are like very loyal to one powerlifting federation. I was just wondering like do you necessarily have a preference between like or like some people are like I'll only do a meet if it's USAPL or Powerlifting America or whatever. I was just wondering like do you have a preference between any type of federation or do you just kind of compete whatever's open like whatever?
Um, okay. Yes, I do have a loyalty, like IPF till the day I die. But I think that powerlifting is powerlifting at the end of the day, and people should like find whatever suits them best and go do that. I mean, at the end of the day, especially with Powerlifting American with IPF, if you do it, and especially if you compete internationally or you are locked in. Like I can't do a USAPL meet. I mean, I don't want to either. Like I'm very comfortable being PA. So yes, I have a loyalty, but I don't think that if you do USAPL, you're like not as strong. Like that is, or if you do PA, you're automatically strong. Like neither of those things, those are all, I don't know if I call them myths, but like they're just not true. I hear people all the time, oh, I'm not going to switch over to PA yet because I'm just not strong enough. And I'm like, USAPL is the one that has qualifying total. We don't even have qualifying totals. So like, like I feel like that's kind of a flawed logic. I think it's just like the pathway to international. So people think they need to wait till they're strong enough, which is a conversation we just had that doesn't exist. But yeah, my phone's charging, so I keep stalling. It's like sitting up. But yes, I mean, I do have a loyalty. Like, I'm not going to do a USAPL meet. I'm not going to do a Powerlifting United meet. Like, I'm not going to do that. I think at the local level, if you want to hop around, I guess that's fine. Don't quote me on that for PA. I can't remember if you just compete at the local level. I think I don't know, IPF like calls me up after this call. I don't remember. But I know that like once, especially like once you get to the national, like you compete at nationals, like if you leave PA, you probably can't go back and forth. And then for the international level, I know you can't. Um, but I'm not 100% sure of all the rules. I just know I would only ever be PA. But I also don't like judge people for doing a different federate like power like squat bench deadlift is squat bench deadlift. It's not that different.
I
It's
guess
really just the politics that you have to pay attention to, I
right. I
guess.
guess so. I want to ask you a fun one. So a
Okay.
lot of people have an issue with sumo deadlifting versus conventional. So I was just wondering, like, do you have a preference between the two? Because I pull sumo, but I've had friends be like, "No, you're a cheater" or something. So I don't know. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
So, I mean, so I guess you could say I'm biased, but even before I pulled sumo, I thought this way. Sumo is it is really, really technical. It's not easy to do. I mean, I pull a very narrow sumo. Um, Especially people who pull a wide sumo, like that is not cheating at all. And the people who think it's cheating are probably weaker than you. So, and that's not like a dig at your friends, but that's like a general statement. Like, if someone's like, oh, like do it conventional, I'm like, can you even pull it conventional? Like, that's the question. So no, definitely not cheating at all. It is still a deadlift, and it's even more highly technical. And people that try sumo, a lot of times they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is actually a lot harder than conventional. So
Yeah, my argument would just be like, I feel like if you're gonna keep that same energy, then a low bar squat is cheating. You know what I mean? Because the
it's
high bar.
true.
So like, I don't know. But I guess just to kind of end off, do you have a powerlifting hot take?
Give me a second to think about that. Powerlifting hot take. Um, I'm like the most chill person ever. So like me having a hot take but I want to think of one. Um, let's see. You know what? Okay, one is formulating, but it is a hot take. But it's also biased, and I'll preface by saying that. I think that like beef between powerlifters are um excuse my language, talking your shit. Like I feel like it's kind of like overrated. I feel like it's a hot take. Because people do it all the time and it's pretty normal to do. But like when I see it, it sounds very like silly and like elementary to me. And it's probably because I have experience with it. I used to be that lifter. And you know, the meat. I understand it's part of this. It's part of sports in general. And I'm a football fan. I'm an Eagles fan. So Lord knows I will take every opportunity to say the Cowboys suck and how much I hate the Giants and like all this stuff. But I feel like if you do the sport, and maybe in sports in general, I think it's entertaining. Um, and I think it can fuel you if somebody like doesn't believe in you and they say that verbally. Like that has fueled me. I remember at a competition that I did, there was a which I don't listen to these until after or even at all. Like what do you call it? Like podcasts about meets. I don't listen to them before. It stresses me out. So I'll either listen to it afterwards or like sometimes I just don't. It just messes with my brain. I don't. It's just a personal like competing thing. But yeah, like shit talking is overrated. That's my hot take because it's like at the end of the day, like just go out and like do your lifts, and yourself and your handler slash coach will make sure that you have every opportunity to beat the other person. Like I don't know what the purpose of, but I'm a very like calm. I'm a very hyped lifter, but I'm like a calm person. Like I'm the other um, two or three like very high level 52 open women in the US were like all good friends. I don't know Vanessa as well like personally, but I will 100% respond to her. So she's also a big cat person. So like we have talked about that. Jamie and I are good friends. Sarah Mercer, which she hasn't done nationals as a 52 yet in PA, but her and I are good. We like text each other and hype each other up all the time. Like I'm not like that. Like I'm very much so friends with my competitors, except on meet day. And I just like building people up. Like I don't like shit talking my competition. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that perspective, especially because I think in order for the sport to grow, we can't like bring each other down. We have to like
Yeah.
be a community and uplift each other.
Yeah.
So that's definitely an interesting perspective. So that's all the questions I had for you. I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to do this interview. This was actually my first like sit down one-on-one interview. So I just really
Yeah.
want to thank you for just being so like just willing to do this interview throughout this whole process. I'm sorry the scheduling thing was a little messed up, but
No, it's okay. I went back and I looked and I was like, oh no, I was wrong. I could have sworn I said Sunday, but I looked and I did say Saturday. I was like sitting in my car waiting to get a key to feed a cat when you texted me, and I was like, wait a minute. Which I'm about to go feed her after this, but I'm cat sitting. But yeah, so I'm sorry about that. I did not realize that I said Sunday, but All good. And yeah, no, I appreciate you too. I like doing these just because it's very fun to talk about powerlifting. And I think that there's advice and things that I wish I would have heard when I was a younger lifter. And to an extent I did hear them. But I just think it's hearing from someone who's been in it and who's been through like a lot of different things in the sport and who is still in it, and like just as in love with it is valuable to like younger lifters. So I know that I would have wanted that.